Choose you this day whom you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. It's JDP Solar System Startup Search and Selection so far. All right, I'm back. All right, what we're going to do here is, in this video, is we're going to talk about the adventure I took to get this far. All right, I started with a Jackery and a Renogy panel that I had ordered from eBay right after I purchased my first 100 watt Renogy solar panel. Nope, I was in the right spot. Oops. And we'll go back to this over here. All right, so yeah, there's the Jackery. I found that with that 100 watt solar panel, and I said, hey, there's 1500 watts of lithium ion, all my USBs, a whole bunch of outlets with a big pure sine wave inverter, and what was that, 1500 watt inverter too. So it's almost the same size as that one I spent 60, 70, 80 bucks on. Yeah, 85 bucks after tax on. Couple solar panel inputs, look nice and efficient, effective. And I looked it up, and it's well over the $1,000 mark, closer to the $1,500 mark, or more at some places. I was like, $300. Oh, I got to get that. I bought it, waited a few months for that to come in, and it never did. And while I was waiting for that, I said, well, you know, my e-bike isn't working anymore, and I got it now. So let's go ahead and just get a solar charge controller while I wait on that Jackery, because it looks like it's coming from China and might take a few months to come in. One of those things where I spent a bunch of money and just, you know, decided to gamble if I was going to waste the time and interest on, you know, handing somebody my money until it never showed up and just get it back. But anyway, so I went ahead and bought this, my first one, for $9.95. You know, I was pretty tight on money too, just, you know, still paying my rent over there, dealing with all the trouble over there, you know, the power going out once in a while and stuff. So I was like, you know, I just spent a couple of bucks to get me a backup, because I still had electricity, it just wasn't super stable. So I bought this thing right here as my first one to figure out what was going on. And I went ahead and said, well, you know, since I've only got one panel and one charge controller, I need something that's going to be powerful enough to run that tablet full time off the solar panels, because I know these little jacks right here won't. So I bought this thing here, and I said, I need it. While I'm doing it at it, why don't I go ahead and get something that is upgradable to 24 volts, because I already started thinking about 24 volt in the long run, if, you know, or at least being ready for it if needed. Anyway, so I went ahead and found me, so I went ahead and found me a high-speed C2C charger, because when I did get that other charger back in, when I did get this charger right here in, I found out, yeah, 3 amps. Problem with it is, it's 3 amps, but it seems like you got to be closer to the 40 volts for it to put 3 amps. When I only put 12 volts on it, or you know what? You know why I bought this thing like that? Come to think of it, I bought this like this because I could hook this right up to the solar panel, technically, and didn't even need a solar charge controller if all worst came to worst. That's why I bought that all the way up there. I wasn't even thinking about 24 volts at that point. Never mind, because I didn't realize I was going to be moving to a place without electricity. I just always had it in the back of my mind. So, point is, though, when I hooked this up to the solar panels, I could never get this to charge the tablet while the screen was on and I was using it. It just wasn't quite powerful enough to do that with right off the solar panel, or even hooked up to the controller at 12 volts, if I remember correctly. So I said, well, let's buy a long cord. I mean, not a cord, a C2C cord, and boom, let's buy a 30 watt and 30 watt C and A charger. Boom. And I made sure this thing was more than 24 volt compatible, because at that point I was thinking ahead. I was thinking, you know, I might end up actually needing this. Okay, so at that point I started looking for a 12 volt audio amplifier and a Bluetooth adapter to make sure I had a, because a Bluetooth adapter I had, the socket just wore out of, and I use it with my big Roland outside, but I also said, well, I need it for that little, I'll show you here in a moment, for this amplifier right here. So I said, well, let me get me something 12. I went ahead and did a little bidding and got that thing for less than 10 bucks. Look at that. And it hooked up great to this right here, and up to the 4 little speakers I got at pawn shop and yard sale. So now I was like, well, these big 12 volt lights I got, they're really hard on the, what I did was I took the e-bike batteries. I got 4 20 amp 12 volt gel matte deep cycle batteries for my electric bike that you wire them up in series, and it makes 48 volts for the bike at 20 amps, but I wired them down to 12 volts in parallel, and it brought it up to 80 amps, which is about a kilowatt. I had about a kilowatt of storage on that thing, actually closer to like half to points to 3/4, I mean to 6/10 of a kilowatt, again, because you don't really want to run those batteries down, or those e-bike batteries are supposed to be allowed to be, I don't know. Anyway, point is, I bought these light bulbs right here. I saw this 20 pack for $10, and I said, oh, even if 1 or 2 of them are, you know, defective and don't work, man, that's 50 cents a light bulb. I could do this whole place up and still have a small handful left to play around with. So that turned out to be, I mean, just one of the best. And I said, well, you know, and I've only got 1 solar panel, so I better start ordering me some more solar panels when I started realizing that it was time to move, and where I was about to move to wasn't going to have electricity, you know. So I said, all right, I'm gonna get me 3 more panels. I found these 75 bucks a piece, and I said, and until they come, or in case they don't work out, I'm getting me a generator. I ordered this generator. It's like a $1,200 generator, so I got a steal on it. Well, 3 or 4 months later, it never came in, so I finally canceled that out. So a little later, I went ahead and, right as I ordered those solar panels, I went ahead and found this deal. Those 2 big 16-inch fans for $32.99. I couldn't believe it. Awesome. So I said, well, let's look at speed controllers. This, you know, so this was I made a mistake when I bought this one here, and so I immediately canceled that order when I found the much better controllers. And as you see, here's that first sine wave inverter I got, and they knocked 20 bucks off it because I got one too small. After about 2 weeks, I decided I didn't want it anymore. So I still got that thing, you know, and I still spent, you know, about what, 60 bucks on it? 70 bucks. Ooh, a little more than I thought. So I said, well, at this point, I better buy me a circuit breaker for my batteries, because it's just not a good idea to have this thing hooked right up to everything. So I bought me my first circuit breaker, and I found these speed controllers right here, and I said, oh, look at that. That's more in the direction I was wanting for the right price. I got 2 of those for 14 bucks. And my cell phone battery sitting in the window right there had swollen up, but the phone was still working, but it was starting to get worse and worse and worse, and moving out here was just too much for it. But I don't have the same window heat problem, so I said, well, let's get a new battery. That way I can use my phone like it's supposed to be used, and not just leave it stuck to a charger, stuck in the window, you know, especially since it was literally starting to affect the Wi-Fi or the hotspot and everything. I was literally having internet trouble, and the only reason why I was having internet trouble is the battery was just more than failing at that point. And as I'm getting more panels, I'm like, you know, I'm having so much trouble jamming cable, wire ends into the solar panel connectors that come with it, and I don't want to clip them off, taping them, and they don't seem like they're going to be real solid, and I always worry about one of them not connecting, and then I lose some efficiency. So I said, well, it's about time to start looking at these. I found this right here and I said, oh wow, look at that, 40 connectors for $8. Man, sold. Well, it's not what it looks like, okay? It's actually only 10 total male and female sets of connectors, or 10 sets of male, 10 sets of 10 sets of male, 10 sets of female, connectors. Because what it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10. And then 10, and then 10 to make 40 pieces. But still, that's less than $1 a connector, and they were still totally worth it at this point, just because I got them all on there. I even made an extension cord out of them, and I still got 4 or 6 of them left to make a couple more connectors out of. And let's see. So at that point, I converted this to 24 volts and added the other inverter, and decided, well, I'm going to take the 60 amp breaker and put it down there in the solar panels, and I'm going to buy me this 100 watt amp one to put between the battery and the RV, and did that. But the problem is these little jokers right here. I bought 2 of them, 30 amps. I bought them from 2 different sellers, mind you, because I only bought one at a time, because I bought one, and as it's coming in and I'm waiting for it, I go ahead and buy another one, because I'm just thinking in my head, if this thing doesn't work or it fries, I really need to be able to step this 24 volt down to 12 volt to keep my lights and stereo and everything else running. So I wait till this comes in, till I do the 24 volt conversion. Do the 24 volt conversion, hook this thing up. It's making a little bit of a buzzing noise and smelling a little smoky, a little electrical burn. I hooked some things up to it and it works fine, but somewhere past about 10 to 15 amps, it just quits. And the whole time I'm adding load to it, the smell and the buzzing is getting worse and worse. And I went ahead and took the panel off of it. I'll show you some, shoot, I might actually have that up in here. Hold on. Oops. I might not have transferred it from the camera over to this yet, but we'll see here. Is that it? Oh, here we go. Yeah. Okay. Look at that right there. 5 amp. It said 30 on both those sellers' lists. 5 amp. It's no wonder it fried. So buyer beware. And this was terrible too, because I had, here, let's watch it together. You'll see that, is it up in here? Anyway, I had put this all the way up inside of yeah, here we go. Look at this. Okay, way up inside of here, I put that thing way up inside that wall, ran all the wires professionally and everything, got it all hooked up in line, and started adding load, and then it failed, so I had to go up inside of there and take it all back out. I had it mounted right there, so I had to go and take it all back out. Boom. Well, at least now I can get rid of this video, because I don't have to show this. So let's go back up where we were. Hey, look at that. I'm getting better at this. So anyway, I ordered the last 2 solar panels to make a total of 6. And same thing, got them for $75 a piece. And they seem to put out, they said they're 100 watts, and I seem to be getting a total of about 90 watts average a panel when that thing maxes out at about, I think, 555 out of what 600 watts worth of panels, and I spent $475 on them, so 555 watts max so far. I got the catch on the meter for $450. I'm doing much better than $1 a watt. So I guess I'm going to keep on getting those, whatever that brand of solar panels I mentioned in the last video was. So anyway, I went ahead and ordered this car stereo as well. It was 4 channels, had remote, had Bluetooth, had audio input. So it did everything I needed it to do. And honestly, it was full of features, but man, it was so horribly user not friendly. And it kept muting out. The laptop seemed to have a problem muting out the audio randomly on Bluetooth. But even when I hooked right up to the headphone jack, I still got that problem with the audio just muting out, and it seemed to be like certain syllables in a word would trigger it. Because I would be watching a conversation, and it'd be like, yeah, and then and I'd rewind it, and yeah, I don't know, yeah. It'd be the same part of the same exact sentence of, you know, a phrase from a part I'm trying to listen to that would mute out on that stereo over and over and over again. You know what I'm saying? There's something digitally going on with its reception, I guess. And it you know, and it's too bad too, because it didn't sound terrible for $30 after tax, but I sent it back because I just that audio muting out like that, nope, can't handle that. But again, only did it with the laptop. The tablet, I didn't seem to have too much trouble with it. Anyway, and that's what I did. I hooked the thing right back up to that other 12-volt amplifier through the headphone jack, you know, and stopped doing that mute out thing. So it had to have been that car stereo. Either way, like I said, I didn't like it. I'm going to spend like $70 or $80 and buy an actual like Kenwood or Sony or, you know, something like that, an actual good car stereo. So time for 24 volts now that I got those converters in. All right, I can step down 24 volts. Finally, been waiting 2 weeks for those things. You wouldn't believe how long those stupid little converters take to come in. Really, I mean, I'm sitting here like, oh man, I got everything I need for 24 volts for over a week. And I'm sitting here, oh, I can't do anything about it because of those converters. And then the converter fried within a couple of hours of getting it hooked up, and oh yeah, I got my converter hooked up. Now I'm 24 volts and 12 volts. And then it fried, and I'm like, oh no, now I either got to go back down to 12 volts or figure out how to get everything 12 volts work off 24 volt until that other one comes in a week later. And even when it does, I can only run 5 amps at a time on it. What am I going to do? Well, I'll explain that in another video. Anyway, so yeah, so I got this nice big inverter, and I'm like, man, I finally get to hook it up, finally get to use it. And yes, it makes coffee. It does everything. Wonderful. Although at a, you know, cost of how long it takes to recharge batteries. But then the converter failed. I'm like, oh, well, and I'm still waiting on that big step down converter. Like I said, I'm running a little 5 amp extra converter for a little audio amp, and as soon as that big one comes in 2 days, I'm returning that other one too, because that way I'll get almost half of what I paid for the big converter back. You know, and technically 30 and 30 would have made 60. I'd have got that big converter for half price. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Here we go. This thing right here. Okay, look at that. Now this is what I should have bought to begin with. This is truly 60 watts. Doesn't even need a fan, because what they did is they just made it so large that it just dissipates heat, and it's so efficient that it's, you know, I guess it doesn't lose a lot of heat. Whereas the other one I was looking at had a couple of big fans in the back, and it was only 40 amps and didn't look near as effective and efficient. So I just said, you know, $40 for that, $20 more for something, or no, that was a 30 amp one. Yeah, what they did was I'll have to show you that a little later. Anyway, what it is they had a picture of it, or they said 60 amp as an option for these smaller black ones with 2 fans on them. But when you look at the pictures, there's a 60 amp, a 45, and a 30 amp for about the $40 price. And you look in the description and it says 30, 45, or 60 amp optional. And there's no selection. You just purchase whatever they're going to sell you for this price. So I would assume that you're going to get the 30 amper for the $40, so it's like $38, whatever. So like $20 more for literally twice the size, and they're not trying to. Because I'm getting to the point where I won't buy from sellers that advertise that cheat on their advertisement. You know, try to trick you. I'm just not doing this. So when I saw this for that price and everything, you know, of course I did my homework, made sure this was the absolute lowest price and the quickest to come in, and actually it was, like I said, 2 days, and I just ordered it a few days ago. Because this was one of those things, since I did figure out how to get my 12 volt system working on 24 volts without a step down, this was kind of like it's not really that necessary, until I went ahead and decided to buy this right here. An extra set of fans. I couldn't get quite the steal of a deal I got on those 16-inch fans, but I got pretty close. I got 14 inches for $34 for both of them. So, you know, $2 more than the 16s for 2 inches less. That's not a terrible thing though, because those 16 inches, honestly, they stick up from that window about that far on each end. But those are only double pane tall windows. This one here and all three of the back windows are triple pane. So I'm going to move the 16 inches, one here, one there, and I'm going to put both 14 inches up over there, and that's actually going to fit wonderfully. I'm going to put and that's why I decided to go and get this 12 volt step down, is because I'm going to leave the two fans over there, 24 volt in series. Aha, I think I just ruined my next video on how I got all these here to work off of 24 volts when they're all 12 volt, because I just happen to buy everything. These fans are matching fans, those fans are matching fans, every single one of these lights in here are matching double bulb lights, so I was just able to run them all in series. You know what I'm saying? As long as I have two of everything on at one time, I was able to do it. And that's why I'm actually going to leave those fans that way, because that's 100% efficient. And I think it works. It actually works really good, because I can leave them at lower speeds and they push. So I'm going to leave those that way. As you see, I got two more speed controllers coming in for these two fans, because I'm going to put one fan here and the other fan is going to be movable in the bedroom between the very back window if I'm sitting up here and I want to push air in or out, and when I'm actually in the back bedroom or I've done laundry and it's sitting on the rack, I'll hook it on the side to push through that way while I'm laying on the bed, or so it's not right by my head. Or like I said, when I got the laundry, so it's blowing across laundry. So yeah, but because I'm gonna have one fan here, one fan in there, I needed two more controllers. So I got one controller for those two fans, one controller for these two fans, even though these little fans, do they need controllers? Not really at all, but I still like having them. So this is what I decided to do in the long run is, let's see. I'm going to end up putting these back down to 12 volts so I can turn these on independently and use them again like portable little fans if I want. So what I'll probably do right away is use one speed controller for one fan and use the other fan just the way it is, as a portable little fan, plug-in fan. But to get them both on their own controllers, so every single fan, other than the double windows I count as one fan, will have its own controller, is this. Finally, the last little piece of this puzzle here. Oops. Boom. Get that right there to put on the big fan window, the windows in the big fan. Sit in my chair, turn them on and off. I don't have to take the two plugs out and flip them over and put them back in to reverse them. I just press a button on the remote or the faceplate. So that's what I'm going to do for those two big fans. And as you can see, this is 12 to 55 volts, so I can readily continue to just keep that at 24 volt. Yeah, buddy. And these are all 10 amp fans each. These big ones, the 14s might actually be closer to 8.5 to 9. So everything ought to work just fine. I believe this thing was rated at 20 or 30 amps. I'll double check it online. But anyway, so when I get that, then I literally will have controller, speed controller, and then a speed controller, digital one for over there. And at that point, I got one more window back there. I guess I could put a small fan on. Not, well, you see, that's what I'm talking about. I got a window right there. Oh, don't forget about this little thing in here somebody gave me. It turned out to be kind of neat. You soak that in water, and if you got a freezer, you can freeze it. Goodness gracious. Yeah, it doesn't go together quite the best, but it's got a little thing here so you can keep it level and move. And top it off with water if you want. But the big deal is it's 5 volts. So I got a AC adapter. I got a really long, like 9 or 10 foot USB A cord. And I'm going to make me a little short cord too, because it also plugs into the little battery packs. And man, I plugged this thing in the other night, overnight, on one of the battery packs in the bedroom. I woke up in the morning, man, the battery pack had well over half the battery left on it. You know, and this is not a big battery pack. It's only like 5,000 milliamp or 8,000 milliamp, you know, rated at 5 volts. Because I think it's got a little step down inside of it. All right, so I believe that is probably it. Oh, maybe not. So anyway, we were talking about the Jackery. The inverter, cell phone batteries, 100 amp breaker. Oh, there's a few more things here. Okay. Well, I guess we'll save that for another video. What's to come. That big 60 amp DC to DC step down converter turned out to work great. I got my cell phone booster coming sometime this week, something I should have done a long time ago. And also my laptop DC to DC step down converters coming in, so I'll be able to connect that to the battery without the inverter for even more efficiency on my electricity. Stay tuned. There's more to come.